Welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I'm so excited to be in this beautiful set. I'm so happy to be here in person. And I'm so excited about your new book. That Sucked Now What? You got your title.
I did. I got the title. There was a little bit of struggle.
Yes.
There was a little bit of rejection for like 8 months, but we made it. And I'm at peace.
Okay, so let's talk about struggle.
Okay.
This morning,
Yes,
when we were having our chai,
we were.
which you're so good at. I'm such a fan of chai now.
Thank you.
We were talking
Mm-hmm.
and saying how important, what a gift struggle actually is in our life, because it opens up, it gives us an opportunity for growth. And so many, I think just human beings in general, we avoid pain. We don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
And in the past couple of years, I don't know one person, I mean, pandemic, like so many different things. Every single person on this planet has been through some level of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So your book, I feel like, comes out at the perfect time of like, yeah, that pandemic, that sucked.
Now what?
Now what?
Recession? I don't know. Opportunity?
Yeah.
Take
It's an
for what you,
opportunity.
right?
Yeah.
It's an opportunity, right?
But you're giving really tools and frameworks of how to be resourceful and how to grow and how to use these inevitable challenges that come up in our life, how to spin them for good and positivity.
Yeah.
So what inspired this book?
Well, I mean, back in the day, I would probably say struggle is like my middle name, or like I'm queen of grit and resilience, which part of that is true. That's become my body of work and what I've been known as. But yeah, I had to struggle for, many years of my life. And I didn't really understand that until
It was your normal.
yeah, this was the norm. This was like, my subtitle of the book is How to Find the Magic in the Mess and Embrace the Joy in Chaos. I might have flipped it a little bit, but it's literally finding the joy in the chaos, embracing the magic and the mess, because those can coexist together.
Well, and for an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
We're talking to spa owners here.
Mhm.
Like the entrepreneurial journey, it is chaos. It is magic in the mess. And you do have to have this skill set to really know, how am I going to address this fire or that fire or this unexpected thing that happened? And I feel like my own journey in entrepreneurship, it's like as my business grows, so does my level of personal development and self-awareness because of those problems that we're addressing constantly.
Absolutely. And I mean, I can so relate to the spa owners because I started out as a cosmetic dentist.
Yes.
I mean, and during, my most pivotal moment in my life, which was when I had to make a big decision, a huge decision, which was, am I going to stay in this? I had a very personal thing happening for myself. And I thought, okay, I'm this new dentist. I just got this practice. It's probably not even a year old at this point. I was going through the woes of this transition because I bought it from a much, much older dentist. He was probably in his 60s at the time, white man, white hair, golfed every week, and me just fresh out of dental school, probably like 2 years out, 28, 29. I looked like I was in high school still. And people were leaving. When they would see my face, they were leaving. They're like, nope. Oh, she's too young. Oh, what would she know? Oh, she's the nurse. Oh, so I had so much attrition just that year, coupled with then I had to really take stock of the relationship that I was in, because I was living in avoidance that I was actually in an abusive relationship. And that was the big secret that I was hiding. That was a big elephant in the room. Yet, it was almost like all of this struggle was coming out of the woodwork in every form and shape, where I had people that weren't the right people that were embezzling from me, that were either, you know, slandering, or they just wanted to get more money per hour because I didn't really know how to run a business. I mean,
Mhm.
as doctors and
Should have
dentists,
found me.
I know, exactly. I should have, I didn't have a growth factor way back then. There was, I don't think none of that was really even possible at that point, you know, as a very, so early on in practice where all I could look at were, you know, these old men doing
Right.
business that way. So what did I do? I joined the golf club. Did I like golf? No. Did I even know what?
You were trying to fit in. You're trying to fit a mold that was not
Oh, totally.
you.
Totally. And coupled with, you know, just the struggle that I had in this relationship where I felt like it literally took my full confidence away. Where I remember it was December 31st, you know, 2011, where I had finally fallen to my knees. I was living in this beautiful home in Chicago, living the life, all of the things. And I thought, like, okay, yeah, I made it. I made it. But why am I so sad? And why am I so freaking scared? Scared about what everyone would think of me, scared about if people would find out that I'm a fraud because I'd been lying for years, that actually it's not picture perfect, not like my teeth. You know, it's it's actually crumbling and I'm actually afraid of my life.
Yeah.
And so it was that day that I realized I picked up everything that I could and I left that life of mine to set out on new footing. And for the first time, I remember even going into my office, you know, a few days after we were open on January the 2nd, and I go in and I'm like breaking down to my team of 10, my assistants, my hygienists. I had a specialist that came in and did implants. And I just brought everyone in because I'm like sobbing. And you know, you can only sob so much through
Yeah.
your mask and through your goggles and through your like, you know, your white coat. But my chest was pounding because for the first time, I would actually let people in and break down fully and shatter into a million pieces in front of everyone and say, I'm kind of staying in my car right now. I'm going to stay at my friend's house for the next few days. Here's what's going on. I've just left this relationship and things are going to get really messy. And I have no idea what's going to happen, but I want you to know your jobs are safe. But if there's anybody that feels like this is not right, then you can leave.
Mhm.
And a few people did leave that day, but every single person that I thought I was afraid of or I would let down because I was saying such a very deep and personal thing, they were like, oh my God, I'm so glad you let us in. Like, this is what we were waiting for. Like, we knew something was up. Like, people can already tell when you're struggling because it pours out in business. It pours out in the way you can't really conceal that for a really long time.
Well, that's the connection that I was wanting to make is, you know, knowing you today, you have an incredibly successful business. You're an author. You're not having people embezzle from your business. You have great relationships with your team. But it was when you were keeping everything inside, when you were not doing the work yourself, that you had this business that I'm sure was successful, but you were still struggling with, you know, not the right people around me, not running it in the way.
Oh.
You know, I'm sure if you had that dentist practice today,
Oh.
it would be a completely different
Fully.
experience. And with entrepreneurship, I feel like so much of what we're doing, how we're relating to our team, what boundaries we're setting with our clients, what boundaries we're setting with our team, what risk we're willing to take, it has to do with that relationship that you have with yourself and knowing the resiliency that you have, that you're able to bounce back. And I learned, you know, I learned about that so much for myself in COVID because my son was born in April 2020 and every single spa in the world was closed down. It was a really like just chaotic, challenging time. And I remember thinking, I went through a crisis and I was like, I've worked so hard for this business. And I had this like emotional moment. But then I said, you know what? If I have to close my business, I'll close it and I'll just reopen when COVID's not here. And I'm going to be so fast because I already have everything in my head and that can never get taken away.
Mhm.
And I believe that that is resiliency.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
knowing that, you know what? I'm thinking of this bounce back
Mhm.
framework that you have. And it's like, yeah, you can bounce back from that. So tell me.
Yes. So I call it the bounce factor because the bounce factor really determines your bounciness. And when we think, and I don't know about you, but when I grew up in Chicago and I grew up, with immigrant parents,
I
and
mean, we have parallel lives, we already discovered.
we really do. We really do. I mean, we both had, some losses, and I had to grow up early. You had to grow up early. And I think that has, while I don't wish that on anybody else, that has really developed our character.
Yes.
And it's developed our character to take risks. I think it's developed our character to, and for those of you who don't know, but before the chaos of my tumultuous divorce and really reclaiming my life back to myself and taking that leap of courage and bravery back to myself, I had to really go back into the depths of the chaos that I grew up in. Like at 10 years old, I became a child caretaker to my mom who was sick. And then for those 9 years between 10 and 9, that's where I would see tremendous loss. I ended up losing my mom to cancer, my brother to an asthma attack, and my father to lung cancer. And at 19, I'm orphaned, taking care of my youngest brother, who was 14 at the time. And it was probably some of the hardest looking back, right? You don't know when you're in it. But now that I'm, seeing, oh my gosh, look at the life that I've built. I have these 2 kids. I found the love of my life. But man, the contrast, like, whoa, I really grew up. Struggle was the norm. Chaos was the norm. Working 3 jobs and trying to put food on the table was the norm. But I didn't know anything different because it was like, oh, okay, I'll work at Dr. Horrible. Literally, his name was Dr. Horrible. I know. I started working with him at 15 years old.
That should have been a sign.
I know. But he was the sweetest man. Shout out if you're listening. He was the sweetest man. And honestly, he saw the struggles that I was in. And I don't know, he probably kept me working there on Saturdays just because he felt bad. I think he had kids of his own, probably my age. But he heard like I was just so rebellious and talking back to my dad. And I'm like, I don't want to go to the hospital, because there was so much chaos and like sadness and despair and just heart-wrenching pain. Poor Dr. Horrible, he was like, okay, is everything okay? He'd come in the receptionist room, and there was, it's like 1 or 2, and this is an older person practice. Like I think the average age of these patients were like 70, 75, and I was like 15. So I actually loved it because they thought I was this like,
yeah, they always want to talk to you.
of course.
Yeah.
And it felt so good and so nourishing because all I had to do was answer the phones, and they had, little appointment book where you'd like write and pencil in the appointment.
You're dating us, Neeta.
That is very true. You're right. That sounds terrible at this point. Wow. Yeah. We had to pencil in appointments, guys. Pencil in with a pen. Yeah. So, I mean, the struggle was real. And I think that, it's really been contributing to how I grew up, that resiliency, because I was taught, especially during those hardest times of my life, I was taught, okay, you're tough, Neeta, you're tough, big girls, don't cry, and you've got this. So and for those thinking about that right now, I want to invite you to think of something different, because when I had to leave on December 31st, I had to break down in a million pieces because I was that glass. I was that thick granite, right? But then when I dropped, because granite is tough, glass is tough, guess what? It shattered everywhere. But yet when you think of a ball, right? You think of that bouncy ball that we have with our kids that we get from like the little,
Oh yeah.
and you let it go and it has a little bit of give. It's tough, but it has that agility. It has a little bit of that softness so that it can bounce. And so there's 4 factors to helping your bounce factor. There's 4 of them. And the first part is understanding your upbringing. And for years and years and years after this, and I know that for many of you who are listening to this, who have, who own spas and who are in this field, we have to make peace with how we grew up. Did we grow up with both parents or one? Did we have some sort of tragedy?
I think in the spa industry too, there's a lot of individuals who their family is not thrilled about them going to beauty school.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so they're either coming in as a second career. They were, did whatever was the appropriate thing to do. And then when they hit their 40s, they said, whatever, I'm doing what I want for me. So there's a level, I think, of shame or a level of disappointing your family for not being good enough. Yeah. That is connected with, how did you grow up? What was expected of you?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And if we're not able to integrate that, and I'll get to the integration piece in a second and to define what that is, yet if there are things looming that we haven't looked back at, or if we've shoved in the closet for decades like I did, then it's definitely going to come out in one way or another. And so to look back at, okay, were boys treated differently than girls? Did you have helicopter parents? Were you just given things on a silver platter, or did you have to work for it? Were you taught that, okay, there is some sort of work ethic that you have to build so that that there is going to be some tough times, because that's just the sake and the nature of building
Mine
things.
came out in control and perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to control my whole environment. I wanted to be fiercely independent. I wanted everything to be perfect. And it took a long time to get to the space. And I remind myself, even when we were in Vail, I was like, it's okay. I didn't plan. Like when we got to there was a trip that Neeta and I were on in Vail, and I am a planner. To a T. We get to the airport. We have no car to figure out how to get us to our Airbnb,
which is like two
2 hours away. Yeah. By the way, I've been asking about this for like 3 weeks. Like, who's getting the car? Where are we getting there? But the old Daniela would have lost her mind. And I was like, no, I'm practicing. And we had fun.
We got lost like 7 times. I was the one driving, and it was insane.
You took 7 wrong exits.
I did. I will take responsibility for that. I definitely did. But I was so proud of you, because you're like, it's fine. She's, you're breathing through the discomfort. You're like, I cannot believe she missed another exit.
It's good. You're such a great teacher for me.
And to be fair, the highways in Denver are just crazy, but that's just me.
But it's knowing, and I practice every day, done is better than perfect. Mm-hmm. How can I be in that space? And I've noticed that since I've been able to kind of go with the flow and be okay with not everything being perfect, and be in the mode of like, let's just let you said the magic in the mess, like kind of let that trip was magic in the mess. That was a total magical, incredible trip. Totally unorganized, and
somebody did kind of organize like all of the things, but we
didn't follow it.
Yeah, we beat to our own drum that weekend, and it was magical.
But with entrepreneurs, how many of you are perfectionists and control freaks? Really? Yeah. Like, what is that actually doing? And I see it when they want a solo esthetician goes to hire a team. Then they're having to pass their clients to their new providers. And it just is an emotional
It's a big emotional reconciliation.
Yes.
And that's the second part, is the emotional capacity. So the first is your upbringing, right? Making peace with your upbringing. And the second, well, I'll get to the second in a second, because that's huge. But the third part that Daniela is talking about is your emotional capacity to feel the urge of what's coming up when things are causing discomfort. I remember the first time when I actually hired an associate, and I felt like I needed to put my eyes behind this person during every procedure,
Yeah.
and standing in the room making sure, because God forbid they would say the wrong thing in
That is
my
not
practice.
exactly how I would do it.
Not exactly how I
You
would
need
do
to be
it.
1 millimeter.
That's what. And of course, I mean, it's no wonder that I had a revolving door, because it was so much control, like you and I mean, I had to unravel the perfectionism. Now I say I'm a recovering perfectionist, yet that, I mean, you're working in millimeters, somebody's face. People are coming to you to beautify their smiles. So there is that level of neurosis there already.
Mm-hmm.
I had the gift of connection with patients to make them feel comforted. And I think much of it was because I needed to comfort myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just poured in so much to the people coming into my practice.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was cathartic, because so much of my world was so uncertain. I never knew for 9 months when I was going to, get divorced, like legally. I didn't know if this person that I was estranged from was going to come, back at me in several ways. So I was definitely dealing with a lot of heavy, heavy emotions, and I had to really sit with it. I had to sit with the discomfort of, I can't control anything anymore. I moved like 4 times in that first 6 weeks, A, because there was so much fear guiding, B, because just of the nuances and the details of all of the things, which it's not relevant for this, but you learn to actually experience, okay, what is actually coming up, and where and how is that? Oh, I don't feel good enough, or, oh, that control in me is coming up. Where else has this come up?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, or what does this remind me of? Oh, it reminds me of when, I was 7 years old and things were chaotic. Parents were getting in a divorce and I didn't know, so I needed to control. For me, the control came from, okay, we don't know when mom's going to die. She got the diagnosis. Oh, she's in remission. Oh, she's back again. Oh, there's fluid in her lungs. Oh, okay, here we go again. Oh, another phone call. Okay, now it's, my brother. So it's just, and so for those of you who've had these like pains of your nervous system just hit,
and I think it's important to note also that trauma is trauma. You've had tremendous loss, right? Whether you've lost a loved one or you just had a simple thing that still causes trauma, it's relevant and it's valid.
All of it. Small traumas, big traumas, they're all relevant, because it's going to many times have you either avoid sitting in the suck, or what I call embracing sitting in the suck. But most of us avoid the suck. Most of us try to bypass the suck and think that, oh, I can just shove it under a rug, or nobody will notice. I'll just perfect everything. And when we try to perfect or strive for excellence in everything, something is going to break. Something is going to fall. Something is going to shatter. So that's where we get into your current environment. What in your current environment are you okay with letting go a little bit of control so that you can invite what I call good stress? And good stress is where most entrepreneurs, most folks starting out new endeavors, new businesses, or changing things, this is where we have an issue, because either we're afraid of putting ourselves out there, either we're afraid of looking dumb or stupid or not smart enough, either we're afraid of failing, which is such a huge one. So what do? We shrink ourselves. We try to play small. We try to say, okay, I'm only going to do just a little bit because that's all I could probably do, versus taking up the space, versus putting yourself, taking that risk, maybe sucking a little bit at something new, so that we can actually build that confidence, build better habits, and then we can actually start thriving as a result. And then finally, so part 4 to that is the integration piece, your radical self-awareness. You actually knowing internally, okay, I know I have to let go of control. I know I have to, this doesn't really feel right now, but I know that in the long run, it's going to really help the practice that I'm building. It's going to help me with my leadership, saying yes to, doing programs with you or just coming online with you, things like that, to see, okay, is this what I actually need right now? Where am I feeling it in my gut? Where am I feeling it in my body? Am I feeling burnout right now? So to integrate some of those pieces where before we kind of would go into judging ourselves because we're not doing enough, or we're judging ourselves because maybe we're too young, too old, the ship has sailed. Oh, it's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for my practice. Instead of saying, okay, I know I'm a novice and I'm nervous about that, yet I'm also excited at the possibility of what can happen. That's tuning in to your own individual, whatever you want to call it, frequency, guidance, inner guidance that will help you elevate to the next level.
So I want to talk about this workbook
Yeah.
because when you buy the book,
Yeah.
you get this workbook right here. Beautiful. This is, you download it, right?
You download it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what's great about this is, you're going through you're talking about, oh, I felt this. And when I was 7, I felt that. There's so many people that don't even have that awareness of that connection.
So true.
And so by reading through the book, by having the workbook, by having these cards, these are super cool. We pulled a card before. So you've got conversation cards, and then you've also got affirmation cards. For someone like me that loves logic and doing and structure,
yes,
it's like I can almost create a plan that's going to give me the prompts to help me uncover those things in myself.
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, what I love about, because there's part of me is also logical as well. And I wanted people to have a self-study tool because, I mean, just like you, when I first transitioned, then sold my practice, there was no, roadmap or guidebook, but I knew I wanted to connect the dots of emotional health and also mental health, because that was something I was just never really equipped with growing up. So connecting the dots in my own life, but then also knowing that entrepreneurship is what I love. Mm-hmm. Yet a lot of us, we don't even get the building blocks of how to do that. And so this is that emotional health, mental health piece for any entrepreneur, especially when you're going through the throes of doing something completely different. This is that self-healing guide, because at any and every stage, and you know this, I'm sure you talk about this in Growth Factor as well, but at every stage that you are up leveling, there will be different kinds of issues, different kinds of
new
setbacks.
Level, new devil.
New level, new devil. Yeah. Different kinds of challenges that will require you to do your own self-healing. And we put everything in this 40-page, beautifully designed workbook where a lot of the concepts that I go in and that suck now what is now broken down so that it's kind of like a therapist toolbox. I mean, still have your therapist, have your coach, but this is for you. Because, and
I see here a boundary, it says, describe a behavior from others that is not acceptable to you. For example, I won't tolerate gossip. So it really is helping you put boundaries and very clear, like, this is my value system. This is what I accept and what I don't accept. And that is going to help create your circle of people, your community. Yeah. And that is like, Jim Rohn was right when he said, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Mm-hmm. If you want to be, a 7-figure spa owner, what do you need to do to get yourself to the place that you can be in that room? You can be, it's 7-figure spa owners are not going to tolerate gossip. We're not going to, it's going to be about collaboration over competition. But if you've got work to do on yourself that you're not even aware of yet, This is a great starting point.
Oh, absolutely. And it brings to mind, one of the first things that I did when I was trying to find new community, because community has been the through line of my life ever since I was a teenage girl at 16 years old,
I mean, you know the planet.
being with Danielle's like, who do you not know? But I had to, because it felt like everyone around me was dying. I'm like, who else am I going to lose? So I knew I had to be good at bringing people together. And that's been really a superpower of mine now that I'm leaning into it even more. But one of the things, when you actually buy these books for your team members, all you have to do is buy 3. But when you buy 3, you unlock this soul posse guide that teaches you how to actually build and nurture relationships. It's 16 pages. It is phenomenal because it actually goes through how to reach out to people, how to actually create a container, how to create a book club, how to create a circle of people that you want to go deeper with, maybe in business. But we know that when we actually add some of our own personal vulnerabilities, that's where the container becomes super tight. And I can talk about this all day, but it reminds me of the very, very first time that I reached out, and I was still a dentist, and I needed to have friendships. I was going through this thing. I felt like I was so alone, especially in those first 6 months. If anybody who's ever gone and gotten a divorce, I mean, it's painful, right? And so I reached out to women that I thought were amazing, that had probably other practices that came from, the spa owners down the street, because I'm like, oh, maybe I can have my team go to their spa on their off day and get a massage or get a facial, because I wanted to incentivize them.
Mhm.
And so I started building relationships with the spa owners in the area, with the people from the bank. It was in a, tiny little community outside of, Chicagoland suburbs. And what did we do? We had a self-care night every Wednesday of the month where I would bring in books, and I would do people coming in and this was before I did Botox in my practice, but had people come, and because most of my team members, I was still in my late 20s, most of my team members were much older, in their 40s. And so they loved it, the Botox and the fillers. So they would come. And so it was just get drinks in, and it was just a fun way of getting people to collaborate. And guess what? The referrals would grow, and more people would know about it. And guess what? More and more people, because then we started just only like having, TED style talks in terms of what was on the TVs, like, when we were doing procedures. Podcasts weren't really a thing at that time. So it'd be like YouTube videos, but people were primed for positivity in our office, because it's already so scary coming into a dental office. So we made it feel and look like the spa. I mean, we changed. This was probably a background that I probably could have had, if not the flowers there, for sure. It had to be Zen. But guess what? You started attracting people
who wanted that. Yeah.
Who wanted different conversations. The red flag clients started to go away, because then we didn't do some of those, types of things that we typically did, like Groupons and things like that, because we wanted a certain aesthetic. And then the brand kind of evolved because of that. And guess what? My relationships and my community started evolving massively, where people started to fly in for their, dental work, and we did full mouth reconstruction. So it just at every level started to shift. Why? Because I started to do something completely different.
But that was aligned with who you are.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be with people who also enjoyed spa, who also enjoyed kind of fun and fancy things and pampering things. But I was doing it because I really needed to build a new support system. And I was like, I was in my late 20s. Most of my friends were still going out on the clubs, drinking and doing those things Saturday night, Friday night. And I was like, I can't do that right now, because I need to heal me. And I couldn't take off weeks to go to like a temple in Bali and sit there for 3 weeks, because I had a practice to run.
No Eat, Pray, Love for you?
Not at that stage. I did do it but it would be a few years out until I would do that. 2 years later, when I would sell my practice. But these were the initial building blocks that actually then led to a trip for 6 months, in Southeast Asia. But it wouldn't be unless I actually was able to reach out and be okay with rejection, because a lot of times I think when we're reaching out to people that we want to know, there might be a little bit of that rejection there because they're busy, they don't know you, you're not in their circle, they're probably like weary. But that's where we get persistent. That's where we're like, actually, can't come to this one, come to the next one. I am having it once a month on Wednesdays.
And not taking it personal.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So
okay,
huge.
So anything that I'm not asking that you think is really important in the messaging for this book?
Yeah. So what I'd love for people to take away is don't be afraid to suck at something new, because you never know how and where it can lead into a beautiful evolution of who you were always meant to be.
I love that. All right. So where can our listeners find you, follow you, get the book, all the things?
Yes. Okay. So 2 things. That sucked. Nowwhat.com. So that sucked. So SUCKED. Nowwhat.com to order, copies for your team members. So when you order 3 copies, you actually get a 12-month self-care calendar. And you also get the...
Oh, was that the one with your chai recipes?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one with all the chai recipes. So you get 12 different... I'm obsessed with chai. Obsessed.
It is a whole new... It is not like the chai that you get at Starbucks.
Oh gosh, no.
It's a whole different thing, and it's amazing.
No, we crush the spices. It's a whole practice. It's a ritual.
Yes, and it's amazing.
And Daniela's had 2 different versions of it. Today we had saffron in there. Yesterday we had
rose petals.
And yesterday you had the rose petal chai. Yes. And there's definitely a finesse to it, and there's a reason why some of these herbs I'm just so obsessed with for self-care. But there's also every month, because obviously as entrepreneurs, we tend to forget ourselves. I know you are all in this spa industry, but we do tend to put ourselves last. And so there are energetic practices and rituals per month to remind you of your mission and to remind you of your coming back to yourself. So you get that when you just order 3 copies. And this is, get it for the people in your office, the people who support you, because you want them to grow. Like, ever since that time in my life, I always devoted time to uplifting the people around me. And some people are like, yeah, well, Neeta, if you develop the people around you, don't you think that they're going to want to do their own thing? Sure. If they want to, absolutely. Go ahead.
Maybe they will at some point.
And maybe they will.
But maybe they won't. It's like...
Or maybe they won't, but they're going to be so enamored by the way you lead, because you led with love. So get those copies. You'll unlock those bonuses. You'll get the actual digital guidebook, which is a self-healing tool. And tell me all about your mission at Neeta Bhushan. That's where I am on Instagram. So it's Neeta Bhushan.
All right, my love. We will have all of those links below this video. And as always, if you want to keep the conversation going, be sure to head on over to Spa Marketing Made Easy, our Facebook group there. And I'll catch you on the next episode.